Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. And Dorothy, the day has arrived that I mentioned on last week's show that we had with Jen DeMeo.
Uh-huh.
Remember at the opening we referenced the Encore Center?
Oh, yes.
And you all were poking fun at me with my participation in their...
I didn't poke fun at you.
No, you really didn't. Their production that just happened over Valentine's Day, Love Letters, which I'd never done anything like that, and I'm
sure you did fabulous.
Well, Encore Center, Jacob Toth has been on the show a few times last year, and we started to have shows where we were promoting the Encore Center, and I was not familiar with it. It houses both the Carolina Performing Arts Studio, which is a full-service performing arts center. It offers artistic instruction in dance, music, and theater for all ages, and they also have the Carolina Performing Arts Theater Group. It's located right across the street from Chapman's, right up from Ashton's. It was an old funeral home which has been renovated. And with all the shows we've done over the years on the arts, whether they've been in Moore County schools or some of the theater groups, it's so refreshing to have a center like this here in Southern Pines. And during COVID and during the pandemic, kids either need trampolines, some sort of physical activity.
They need something to burn off all that energy.
Yeah, and I cannot tell you my impressions of the dedication, the passion of the students was really impressive to see, because I always say that when I was in high school, if you were an athlete, you got recognized. But if you were in theater arts, no. And today, the tables have turned, and kids in the arts, it almost takes more courage to get up and perform than it does to be on a football team where you're one of 11 people on the field and you can kind of hide out under your shoulder pads and football helmet. Not so much in the performing arts.
No, not really.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that production, but in truth, we really want to talk about the Encore Center, its origins, its owners, its philosophy, the growth that they're experiencing, the hopes that they have for the future. And I want to introduce Sarah and Brandon Lankford. Sarah is expecting child number 5. And Brandon, I understand that you are finishing up a 17-year military career.
That's correct. Yeah, just a few more years to go.
And what are the ages of your kids?
They go from 15, 13, 4, 1.
Oh, my goodness.
And then one on the way in about 2 months.
So you have 2 different, like, mini generations of dysfunction under the same roof.
Absolutely. And one generation is learning the dysfunction from the other generation.
Oh, my gosh. And when are you expecting, Sarah?
I'm due April 25th.
April 25th? Oh, my goodness. You guys, it's a family business. It's a family passion. Tell me a little bit about how you started, what the impetus was for creating this center, because against the background of the pandemic, what a time to start, and how are you navigating through everything, but just from the beginning, from the get-go.
So I'll take it all the way back to how Sarah and I first met, and we don't have enough time on any of your shows to really go into the depth of that conversation.
Okay.
But we're middle school sweethearts. Both grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, dated off and on throughout high school. And then after I joined the military, after basic, I went back home and we got engaged and we moved out to Colorado. But I'll just brag on her for a moment. She went to Northwest School of the Arts in Charlotte, and she was the jack of all trades when it came to performing arts. So she sings, she danced, she played violin, piano, guitar, she acted, she was the lead or the co-lead and everything. She played violin at the church orchestra. So this is really a passion for her, and it's always been a part of her life. So in 2006, the Army brought us back to Fort Bragg. We've been here ever since.
Okay.
We like to joke amongst ourselves that since the Army won't PCS us anywhere, we just move ourselves around the Fort Bragg area.
Right.
So we've lived in Rayford and Sanford, Spring Lake, and now out here in Moore County for about 3 years, and we love it. As far as how Carolina Performing Arts Studio got started, I'll let Sarah talk about that because, again, it's her passion, but it was the military that brought us back home, if you will, since we are native North Carolinians.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in 2017, I don't tell Brandon anything until I'm really sure, because as soon as I speak it, he makes the actions start happening from whatever I speak.
Whether she's ready or not.
Whether I'm ready or not. So I don't say anything unless I'm ready.
Okay.
But we had just had our third child, Austin, and I told him, it was probably January or February, and I said, I think I want to open a performing arts studio. I actually went to college for music therapy for my undergrad and wanted to use music to help children with special needs. And then I got my master's in education, in elementary education, and I taught for a private school for 9 years. Our daughter is actually the reason I left education. I started homeschooling her. She's very gifted and just needed a different type of learning. So we decided to homeschool, and I started teaching private lessons out of the house.
Okay.
I immediately had 40 kids on the wait list because I could only take so many being a mom of 3. And
Well, what's 40 more?
yeah, it was 40 more kids.
Yeah.
So I told Brandon, I was like, I think we need to open a performing arts studio out where we live, because we were in Cameron at the time, halfway between Fayetteville and Sanford.
Right.
So if people wanted that instruction, they were either driving 30 minutes one direction or another, and there was the need. And our daughter was very involved in dance, so we were also driving one direction or another. I was a music director at other local theaters at that time too, doing that on the side while she was involved in that. So I had all the contacts that I needed for instructors, and the background and experience and knowledge to know what the students were needing to be successful in the arts. So we opened it, and I said my first goal is to get 30 students that I teach personally.
Okay.
And we had a grand opening event that May, even though the building wasn't ready till September. And in May, we already had 200 students sign up.
200 students.
200 students, even before the building was more than a frame. So it was obviously a need that we were able to fulfill. Teachers came to me, hey, I heard you're doing this. I'm a military spouse. I'm an Irish dancer. I would love to teach Irish dance. Great. Or, hey, I'm in the 82nd band. I play 4 instruments. I'd love to teach and help some kids in the community. So we ended up with about 42 instructors.
Oh my! I have to tell you, when I went through your website, I got really intrigued by what you guys were doing because I saw the commitment, and I'm amazed at how many instructors you have, from musical instructors, dance instructors, theater instructors, and they all work. Is it their full-time job? Is it something that they do as a part-time to keep their craft sharp?
We have both. We have a couple full-time instructors.
And the bios were incredible.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. There's benefits and perks to being in the military community. You have these spouses that have gone through this training,
right,
and have all these special skills that are looking for a place when they move here.
Right.
So most of them work for us full-time. We have a few people that teach in the school system that will come teach lessons after school, but the majority of our instructors are there full-time. So the negative of the military community is they often have to move, but it seems just
right.
as people are going out, more people are coming in. So, we've been very fortunate to have so many talented people come in.
People who know me, I've been here for 21 years, so, news travels pretty quickly around Moore County. So when Jacob had called me and asked me to read for this part, I kind of chuckled and go, yeah, right, not happening. But when I told people about it and what the event was, I've had some of the parents call me and ask me about it because they have children that they may have interest in putting into a theater group or something like the Encore Center, and it's sort of like a world I don't spend a lot of time in. It's like a subculture, but it's a very vibrant subculture, and word of mouth has got to be very positive for you. That's kind of what you rely on, is it not?
Yeah, word of mouth is definitely beneficial. The way we got to Moore County is our studio in Cameron. We moved out to Moore County, and I said, let me look at the demographics of who's coming here. And I noticed we already had 30 families from Moore County driving to our Harnett County studio. And so I said, well, let's open something in Moore County. And I asked those families, there's other places there. How come you drive all the way to us? And they loved, first of all, the like you mentioned, the talent of the instructors, and their abilities. Most of them have master's degrees.
It was very impressive.
Even
I met the piano teacher. What a charming lady she was the other day when I came in. Very statuesque, and it's like I ran into her on an Ivy League campus. Is how I felt about it.
Yes, I believe that's Amy. She's almost done with her PhD.
What's her last name?
Clary.
Yes, that's who it was.
Yes, she's almost done with her PhD in piano pedagogy.
Yes.
So she will be Dr. Clary in a couple months. And she also does our kinder music classes. So we start kinder music at birth, introducing the children at birth and using music to help with all of their developmental skills. So we really try and feed everyone from birth all the way up and include everybody. But like I mentioned, the coming to Moore County, they were coming to us because we were the one place where their son could be in guitar, their daughter could be in dance, their other son in the acting class. It was a one-stop shop for them to get all of their arts instruction at an affordable price and convenient. It was very important for me to make it affordable, especially because we opened near Fort Bragg, and a lot of those are single-income military families out there. So when we came out here, we wanted to do the same thing. It's really the same situation out here. This has become a much more military-focused community over the past few years. So we wanted to make it very affordable,
right,
and with the best quality instruction possible.
Right. So many questions. One of the things I did pick up was from spending the week or so at the Encore Center, almost on a daily basis, was the partnerships that you're trying to forge with the different vendors and such in Southern Pines. And there's a great cooperative spirit in Southern Pines, as there is in downtown Aberdeen, as there is in the village of Pinehurst, and you're finding that, I'm sure, because it takes a village, so to speak.
And that kind of goes to our vision of what we want to do in Moore County.
So I'll backpedal a little bit before we start talking about the vision and everything.
Sure.
When Sarah wanted to open the place out here, we found ourselves in a battle of, do we just have the small venue where we can do exactly what we're doing in Cameron with just dance, just music rooms for the students,
right?
Or do we go a little bit bigger?
Right.
And we definitely went a little bit bigger.
Yes, you did.
We were touring a couple different buildings, trying to find the best place that would house what we currently have set up in Cameron. And our realtor was like, hey, I've got an idea. It's a little bit outside the box, but
right,
just, bear with me. And they took us to the funeral home. And as crazy as it sounds to like walk into a funeral home and think that you're going to change it into like a theater and then everything else that goes along with it, we could immediately see the vision.
Yep.
And so we sat down with Dave Crisafulli and Mike Fields, and we explained our vision to them, just like we're doing now, and just talking about where we're at, what we started with, and where we see ourselves in the 5 to 10 years. And they bought into our dream hook, line, and sinker, and they are the ones that really facilitated us being to where we're at now, because they bought that property for us to move into.
That's great. What a contribution.
Absolutely.
To the town.
And I don't know how well you know them, but they totally believe in the vision that Southern Pines has, and they're trying to make it.
Yep.
And they felt that the Encore Center would be a great contribution to Southern Pines.
There's a charm to that building on New Hampshire. It's located right off Broad Street. It's really right in the heart of downtown Southern Pines, and it could be made even more charming. I think you and I had a conversation about the sign outside.
Yes.
And of course, the restrictions that the town will put on you. You have to work within those guidelines, and it's probably a little frustrating. But it's a cute building. You cleared the pews out. You've got your theater. You've got your studios for the kids on the other side. It's cute.
So it's a
It's
9,000.
organic.
Right. It's a 9,000 square foot building.
Oh, it's
and we
that large?
basically
Yeah.
split it right down the middle.
Yeah.
And on the right side, it's all of our practice rooms, all of our dance studios, our acting rooms, and then on the left-hand side, you walk in and it's the theater, it's the rehearsal space, the multi-purpose room. Our building, though, it's one of the oldest in Southern Pines, so we're absolutely in the historic district. So we have to be very careful in any changes we make to make sure we meet the aesthetics and all the codes that go along with being in that historic district.
Right.
But yeah, we absolutely are constantly looking at ways that we can freshen it up, make it better. We had church pews in there to start out with because that's how the chapel came when we got it from the funeral home.
Yep.
And we've constantly, how can we make this better? How can we make the seating tiered so that way people on the back row can see just as easily as the people on the front row?
Yeah.
For Love Letters, you're right. We cleared out all the pews.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I refuse to put the pews back in.
Yeah.
First of all, they're
don't.
heavy, and I don't like moving them by myself.
Yeah.
And second of all, like, it completely changed the atmosphere in that theater where it went from very almost kind of formal to inviting and relaxing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we're looking to
Intimate and organic.
absolutely, we want to get some more comfortable chairs in there, keep the tables in there,
Yeah.
and just make the entire space more inviting
Yeah.
and flexible.
Let's come back in the second set. We have the whole show. I have tons of questions. Very, very intrigued by what you guys are doing. The Encore Center is located at 160 East New Hampshire Avenue in downtown Southern Pines. You guys have been in operation there for about a year and a half?
Yes.
A year and a half. Sarah and Brandon Lankford are my guests. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set. We're speaking all about the Encore Theater in downtown Southern Pines with owners Sarah and Brandon Lankford. We got a little bit of insight on their story. And honestly, and remembering what you said at the outset of the show, that you guys were middle school sweethearts. It just occurred to me that Jacob didn't need to reach out to me or to Laura Morgan, who is very talented, Miss Senior North Carolina. He could have just cast the two of you to been in the part, because the show detailed 50 years of love letters between the two people. They weren't married, but you would have fit the bill perfectly.
Well, we could have only done half the show then.
Half the show.
Yeah, we're about halfway there.
I met is Jocelyn your oldest?
Yes.
She's 15.
Yes.
So I made a post on Facebook of, she's a singer too, and I watched them practice for the opening act for Love Letters. She and 3 or 4 other girls were finishing their moves and making sure they were in sync. And there was a camaraderie there, and there's a self-esteem that kids get when they're working together and growing together, and they're courageous and they're not afraid to fail. Then there's that camaraderie is very strong. Those impressions are indelible, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They really are. And she was part of the inspiration for starting the studio. Like I said, she was in dance.
Right.
And we wanted to find a more convenient location, but also I wanted to be able to find some instructors that could really push her and take her even further in that. And so, yeah, it's definitely a family business. We're always up there with all of our children. And
Doing the work, all the work behind the scenes.
All the work behind the scenes. And our youngest right now, she's in kinder music class right now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, to brag on you guys a little bit, you were voted Best of the Pines in 2020, Best Dance Studio, first place, Best Summer Camp, first place. I didn't even know you had summer camps. We're going to talk about that. Best Professional Performing Arts Company, first place. Best New Business, second place. You guys are falling behind. Only second place?
Only second place, but we were a little shocked that we won as much as we did, and that we were even second place for Best New Business, because there's so many other great new businesses that started up in that same year as us.
That's right.
But we can't beat beer. So.
Yeah, I mean, who can beat beer around here? So, but we were just fortunate enough to be in the running. It was really good.
Yeah.
So you have, just looking at your website, 2021, you have dates coming up. You've got February 22nd, right now, Moana Day Camp registration. April 30th, the Outdoor Theater, Charlotte's Web and Smoke on the Mountain. May 22nd, music recitals. June 4th, dance recitals. June 12th, more dance recitals. So you have a full calendar, even in this COVID environment.
Mm-hmm. And we've actually added a few more things in between there. So March 6th, we are doing auditions for Charlotte's Web and Smoke on the Mountain. And we're actually going to meet later today now that the COVID restrictions have changed a little bit.
Right, this week.
We're able to have some more capacity in the theater. So today we're going to make the decision and revisit, will those be indoors or outdoors? There's obviously challenges with outdoors with the unknowns of the weather, and we have to move, everything outside, set up the stage, all the permits, all of that stuff.
Where do you do your outdoor events if they're in Southern Pines?
In our parking lot behind our building.
Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's on a slope, which is great for an audience, but challenging to set up a production.
Oh, sure. So I'm guessing the students are facing out towards Ash Street as a stage?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
we've got a stage that we set up. It's a 20 by 16 stage,
20
stairs.
by 24 is how big we can make it.
That's why I just let her give all the specifics, because she knows everything right off the top of her
It's
head.
okay. Everyone knows that you will self-correct as she speaks. It's
I
okay.
make it up as I
It's
go.
perfectly fine.
But so we set that stage up, but it is the challenge because
Yeah.
on the front left corner, it may be 6 inches off the ground, and on the back right corner, it might be 4.5 feet off the ground. So we work closely with the fire inspector and the inspector to make sure everything's up and safe.
Mm-hmm. So we set that, we'll set that up and, take all of our set pieces, all of our lighting, all of that out there. And that's how we were able to come back from COVID because of the indoor restrictions. When we first opened, it was only 10 people allowed inside, and a theatrical production and especially a musical, there's so many costs that go into it before you even start. Just booking the show, can be thousands of dollars.
The idea that Springfest is coming back this year on April the 24th, I believe, it's got to be good news for you. Last year it was canceled. It could be an opportunity for you to get more exposure as people are milling around town. Do you have plans to participate in that?
Yes, so we're part of the
What a
Southern...
surprise. What a surprise.
I'm on there just
What a
talking to
guess.
everybody.
Just a wild guess.
Wild guess. So we're part of the Southern Pines Business Association.
Okay.
We're hosting their next gathering. It's their first.
Great idea.
Yeah, their first gathering back since COVID started
Great
this
idea.
month. And for the Springfest, we'll have a booth set up out there, and our teens will be performing. They'll be at the Spring Fling. That's going to be with the Southern Pines Park and Recreation. We have an ensemble of 16 teenagers. That's what performed before Love Letters. And our whole goal with them is to give them opportunities to perform. But as soon as we opened, we are getting calls left and right. Do you have anybody that can come perform at this event? So we have our teens go all around and do all the performances everywhere.
So this is obviously a 24/7 experience. Even though you're not in production on anything at this moment, you're gearing up to get started right again. So I did notice during the some of the singing prior to Love Letters, some of the singers actually performed with masks on. And I didn't understand that. There was a guitarist. He was maybe 16, 17 years old. And he performed with his mask on, but he was far enough away from the stage where it would have been considered safe. That's got to be hard to do.
Yeah, it is hard. And for some of them, it's their personal preference.
Okay.
And for some of them, they just forgot to take it off because everybody's gotten so used to wearing it. But, if they're up there by themselves, they can take it off. If they're singing as an ensemble,
Okay.
we request that they keep it on because they're in closer confinement.
There were some very talented young ladies in their 15, 14-year-old singing solos. Laura Morgan and I were in the back watching through the wall, which is slanted, so you have to stand at an angle to see them. And some of them were just incredible. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like some of them are very serious about going on into the theater arts or music arts in college and beyond.
Absolutely. And we have one girl who's getting ready to graduate. Her name's Allison Podlegar. I think it was 2 years ago, she won Best Actress for her participation.
Becky's daughter.
So,
okay.
Yeah, she won Best Actress in the state for her participation with another theater company. And she is getting ready to go to college. Well, everything's virtual right now. So Jacob has been helping her, prepare for all of her college auditions, filming it all in the studio. So our goal is to raise them up and hopefully they'll go to college and pursue it as a career.
Right. Jacob and Becky did a great job on the production that we were involved in. Becky was the good cop. No, she was the bad cop. I mean,
she's both.
Jacob, yeah. She would text us, "Where are you? You need to be here. You've got to be here 30 minutes before the show." And Laura and I would get this group text, and we felt like kids in grade school. Oh no, we've been found out, and we just were running like a minute late. But she was terrific, consistent, dedicated, and Jacob very enthusiastic. He wouldn't take no for an answer from me. He just wouldn't, and that kind of passion from the teachers also creates great role models for the students.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many details that go into theater. I mean, when you scratch your head is when she's supposed to have the light cue. So, so having a stage manager and someone that is so efficient and so organized is invaluable. So having Becky there to organize and do everything behind the scenes is so helpful. And we wouldn't be anything without our staff and our. She tells us too.
Yeah, we get treated the same way you got treated. So I get texts saying, "Brandon, you need to come up here and finish this project," and I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I'm on my way."
Ma'am.
My self-esteem, my shoulders slumped. I hung my head. Laura tried to boost me up. Said, "Bill, it's okay. You'll be fine." No, we really enjoyed working with them. We really enjoyed working with Laura. She would be a great role model for some of your students. What a voice she has.
Yes.
Do you think about, because you don't have, for events, you don't have a liquor license at this point, but we talked about the venue also being a great venue for music, for local talent to come in on a Friday night that you don't have an event. People love to gather and listen. Is that something down the road you might be thinking about?
Absolutely, and that's something that we would look at sooner rather than later, just because we have such a wonderful space that we just want to capitalize on it as much as we can. So we are looking at getting our liquor license so that way we could use that to bring some people in and make some additional profits for the nonprofit. But we do want to start having, when there's not a show going on, having some local talent come in, showcase their talents, and just have people come in and observe their set and have some snacks and drinks and call it a good night.
So the Encore Center can actually become, it's branding. How did you come up with the name Encore Center?
So when we moved out to Moore County, there is a dance studio with a similar name. So we're like, well, we can't use the same name as Carolina Performing Arts Studio. That's our legal name, because we didn't want to cause too much confusion. And the fact that it was housing both the for-profit and the nonprofit, we asked, ourselves, like, what's something that would kind of encompass both of those things? And we're like, well, we want to be the center for the arts. We want people to keep coming back. And so I thought, well, if people want to come back, that's an encore presentation. So let's call it the Encore Center. Let's keep people coming back and then them moving on and bringing their children back. And
Gotcha.
That's how we came up with it.
The Encore Center is off to a good start against not the best timing in the world with COVID. Every business has a different history in the last 15 months of how well they can move forward and not. And for you guys, it's got to be a delicate dance. Let's come back in the third set. We want to talk about your sponsors, your volunteers, donors, and maybe some of the stories, the success stories that you've had. I have a feeling that you might have some to share about, specific individuals. And Sarah, you're very maternal towards it's your baby, and they're all your kids. I get that. The Encore Center is our topic of conversation. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our final set, speaking about the Encore Center in downtown Southern Pines with Brandon and Sarah Lankford. It's exciting what you guys have started, and 2021 is in front of us. Some restrictions are starting to be eased. You started out at the beginning of the show. We talked a little bit about your vision. We want to talk a little bit more about that and get into your sponsors, your donors, the fundraising, because this stuff isn't cheap. We had a conversation, you and I, about just getting the rights to plays to produce. So generating revenue off certain types of productions, very costly, and you're limited by your audience. But the vision, and it's today and it's going forward.
Right. So we talked a little bit about how the Encore Center got started, and the long-term vision for that was we wanted the Encore Center to be the home of the arts for Moore County. And just whenever you think of anything artistic, whether it's dancing, acting, theater, music, art, anything artistic, your mind goes to the Encore Center. And that's not saying we want to be the end-all, be-all for all of Moore County. We're all about collaboration and working together with other theater groups and other dance companies, because you just make each other better. If you think you are the best, you're probably not. But so that's what our goal and vision is that when you think anything art, you think of the Encore Center. So that's our goal. And the way we see ourselves getting there is plain and simple. We just need sponsors. We need donors. We need volunteers. And we need board members. We are a new company. We are a new nonprofit. We recognize that. So there's a bit of feeling out and seeing, are we going to make it through COVID? Are we legit? Or are we just another business that's trying to get free stuff?
Right.
I would say the fact that we were able to make it through COVID, we were fortunate enough, which a lot of businesses were not.
Right.
I think we have a lot of staying power, and I think we'll be here for the long term. And we see this as an investment in decades to come. But again, we got to get there somehow.
People need to go to your website. It's encoreofthepines.net. It's www.encorecenter.net. And look through the pages. It's very intuitive. You have to click on the links up top to go through the pages, because it looks like something that's been in business for 30, 40 years with your stable of teachers, and the cross section of talent is it's ridiculous. But that I would highly recommend people taking a look at that. You have worked with sponsors. You do have some supporters, loyal supporters. You mentioned Mike Fields, and I guess his partner helping you buying the building to buy into your vision.
Yes.
And do you have any fundraisers coming up where it's an opportunity to fundraise, but also an opportunity to open your doors to people who might not have been in the Encore Center?
So March 27th, we are doing our season reveal. So we have chosen all the shows for 2021, 2022. Okay. And have received the rights and approvals for that show, or for all of those shows. And we want it to be an exciting event. It's going to be the season reveal and a silent auction fundraiser. So anyone that sponsors our productions for 2021-2022 of $250 or more gets 2 tickets to that event. So they'll get the secret inside scoop as to what's coming. And additional tickets can be purchased by anyone in the public for $25 to come and watch that. We're going to have many of our resident actors or actors that were in previous shows do little portions of the upcoming productions.
Okay.
So you get a little preview of each one and, the different feel
Sort of
for
like
it.
a soundbite of art.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
It's a soundbite of art. So everything that we're planning on doing next year, you'll get just a little taste of it to kind of get everyone excited and motivated to come be a part of that.
Okay.
And so all of those funds for that season reveal will go towards next season.
Okay. One of the things I was really impressed with was your daughter, Jocelyn. When I first met her, she was working. She was cleaning tables. She was sweeping floors. I did not know who she was, but I only saw her in that role until I saw her singing. And so there's a little bit of tough love there you have with your kids. You don't want them to be spoiled. They have to understand that this takes work, and it takes all hands on deck.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to, I know you don't have a cast of volunteers over 100 people, but you do so much of it on your own. Are you looking for volunteers?
Yes, absolutely. If you want to come up and paint, if you want to come up and, excuse me, work backstage, anything.
Yeah, anything from painting backstage, actors. We need actors to be part of it. So if anyone has any talents, like I mentioned, March 6th is our auditions for Charlotte's Web and Smoke on the Mountain. For ages 17 and up in Charlotte's Web, we'll be doing student matinees as well. That'll be open to young families, homeschool groups, some preschools that are still meeting in session. And Smoke on the Mountain, we need musicians and actors for that, ages 16 and up.
Okay. As you were talking, I had a thought. What was that? Oh, gosh, it just left my brain. Do you have an equal draw from people, for students in the public schools versus those that are homeschooled?
We do. We actually run a homeschool program.
Okay.
Where it's called an arts immersion program, and they get training in dance, music, art, and acting. They come for 2 hours each week and alternate subjects every other week. So we have a huge homeschool drawing. As far as public school, we do the day camps on the days that public school are out. So we offer for them to come in, and we just have a fun focus, but we introduce them to all of the arts. And oftentimes from that, they find 1 or 2 things that they really enjoy, and we'll take classes in that.
Okay. Tell me about the summer camps you have coming up. What do they entail?
So we have summer camps for all of the arts. We're doing 2 productions. We're doing Moana Jr. and we're doing Matilda. At this very moment, there's 1 spot left in Matilda and 3 spots left in Moana Jr.
I'm available. I can do a reading.
There you go.
So, and then we have dance camps for ages 3 and up. We have acting camps.
3 and up.
Yep, we're adding an acting for film camp this summer. We have art camps where we focus on all types of art, sculpture, painting, pencil drawing, everything that you can think of. So that's all on our website on encorecenter.net/summer2021.
Okay.
And then, like I said, everything for the theater, if you want to know how to get involved, that's also on the website on the theater side of it. But everything from finding props where you need a lamp from the 1920s or,
right.
We just really would like to get some people in there. And our whole goal for it was to be a community theater. That's why we made it a nonprofit. We didn't want to be in charge of the theater. We want the community to feel invested in it and be part of it. And that's why I think the Encore Center is a great place to sponsor and to invest, because it's starting out, and that would give people the opportunity to look back and be like, wow, I helped launch that. We're here for long term. We're not going anywhere.
Based on your background, as Brandon introduced you, there's an element of you paying it forward too, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. And we have many things in the works. We have some partnerships that we're getting ready to start for helping more children with special needs. There's just so many things that we don't even have time to.
We don't have the people to help us with everything that we want to get accomplished.
Right. And so we're starting a partnership too right now with Methodist University and their students in occupational therapy.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And starting some programs and ways to integrate children with special needs into more of our classes. We already do that, and they work with a few of our students and have seen progress from that, so they want to be part of that and help that grow. And just, that's our way of really wanting to give back. We want it to be for everyone, no matter if they have a disability or they're the most talented person in the community.
Right. Besides the arts, there are also opportunities for students to be stage managers, to work behind the scenes, because in having students on the show in the past where we've had some of the actors and actresses come on, they also brought the stage managers on. And you're learning a craft, you're learning an organizational skill, and I just keep going back to Becky, and she could teach that class. No, I'm kidding.
Well, she's going to, actually.
Oh, what a surprise.
For Matilda, we just had 2 cousins enroll,
Okay.
and one of them is going to come to learn the backstage ropes. So Becky and I talked about that last night. That student's going to come to our production meetings, learn all the planning that goes into it beforehand, learn how we organize all of those things that happen backstage so that somebody walks in, from one side of the stage with all the props, the costumes, everything that they need. The lights come on at the right time. The music starts at the right time.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And not every kid wants to be on stage. And we need people backstage. So we want to train people up in that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, the lighting I watched for the love letters, which you'd think was so easy. Oh my gosh, they had to go through every line and practice and switch and this and that. I had no clue. I mean, you just watch something, you go, oh, that's the way it is. It's not.
No, it takes a lot of work.
Tell me, time is running down, but tell me about one of your success stories or one of your feel-good stories. It doesn't have to be someone that's accomplished a lot, but maybe someone who started with no self-esteem and wound up, with some direction and maybe a passion for the arts, whether they're going to participate as they get older or not.
We have many of those. One that stands out to me, we have one student with, I'll try not to get emotional. It's hard when you're expecting. But he has cerebral palsy, and he had gone to many other places, and they wouldn't even take him.
Right. That's okay. That's great.
So, yeah. And he's going to be in some of our productions this summer.
Oh, wow.
He comes to our weekly classes. Even after major surgeries, he comes in a wheelchair.
Really?
And Jacob comes up with different arm movements for him.
How old is he?
And he's 13.
13.
And just one of the sweetest kids, that you could ever meet. And he had tried to go to other places, and they didn't feel they could accommodate him.
So the arts is a participation sport.
Right.
And that's not always, you can't always say that about sports, athletics, but you can about the arts. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
There's a seat for everybody. That's a very touching story. Yeah. How many more months do you have? Because we're going to see tears, I think. Is it till April?
Well,
April 25th?
Supposedly April 25th, but they're not going to let me go that long. I'm kind of old, and with it being the 5th one, they're not going to let me go that far. So.
Well, it's been great to have you guys come on. This is something we talked about right after Love Letters, and it was something that I hope people in the area can find out about the Encore Center and the kind of passion that you guys work with and the commitment. I see it, and I think it's really impressive. And if other people get a chance to see it, all they need is an opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
They get the opportunity, you've opened your doors, and then things will grow.
Absolutely.
I want to wish you both the very best of luck, and I have a feeling I'll be seeing you at the Encore Center here sometime pretty soon.
I hope so.
Sarah, thank you for
Thank you.
coming in. Brandon, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all for listening, and hope to see you all at the Encore Center. Get on their website, encorecenter.net, and we'll give you a lot of good information. This is All Things Moore County. Thank you.